Those people who are here from the MUA, can you just come to the front? It's pretty informal. It's between us. I'm going to run a short presentation and then we're going to have a chat. But those who haven't yet left, it's okay. You're welcome to stay around. It's not only for MUA members. It's anybody who's interested about, contributing to Moodle development and proposing projects like you've just done. Okay. Where's the clicker?
There.
Here we go. Okay. This is the Moodle User Association moment in the Moodle Mood, and this is Mike. Mike has been a member of the MUA for a long time.
I've been a member for a while. I've been a committee member 2 years in a row.
And I've only been a member for a couple of years, nearly 3 years of the MUA, and only a committee member this year. So it's the first time I'm doing this.
Okay, where's your machine?
I'm a learning technologist. Is it clicking? Yay! Okay, so what is the MUA? First, here we go. First of all, the MUA is not Moodle. It was launched by Moodle HQ originally, but it's a non-profit organization in the hands of the Moodle user base, and it's independent from Moodle HQ and Moodle partners. So it's the community users getting together. It's run by a committee. We're elected, we're volunteers, and the committee is committed to the user base. The MUA has got rules and statute as an association, and you can actually check them online. So our goals as the MUA committee and as the MUA altogether are to enable more core developments in Moodle and to get structured feedback from the user base. So the kind of exercise we've just done now with Martin, but doing that all year long for the different release. So people propose projects, they have a voting system, we get them priced, and then we actually get them into core. So they are user-driven specification, and it's our chances as users. So I'm an individual member, but some people might be institutional members or as an institution to actually have a voice in the development. So it's a direct investment from the user base into Moodle core. So our declared goals are we are for educational institutions and individual members. Members pay an annual membership fee, and I'll show you that in a moment. They are then able to suggest projects. They vote on proposed development projects, like I've just explained, and the available budget is invested directly into implementation. We are a direct line of communication from the user base to the Moodle HQ. We are trying to harness a synergy within the user base and trying to have exchanges between the active educational institutions as well. So we've got forums, etc. But we also have town hall meetings monthly, 2 town hall meetings to try and enable that as well. In summary, we are about creating a combined voice for Moodle using institutions. So the next part is about project cycles. So we have 6 monthly project cycles where it goes through different stages, got proposals, refinement, voting. And we get up to a stage where there's a detailed specification, and we can then have costing by HQ. And there's an interaction between the Moodle User Association and Moodle HQ, leading to implementation in the next version of Moodle. So far, These are the projects that have gone forward and things that you can now see in core thanks to the MUA user involvement. So Recycle Bin was the first project, the course overview block in the dashboard. Then we had the calendar improvements, an expanded question bank, fixing analytical tools for random quiz questions. Then we had the course overview, which has been implemented early in 3.6 with HQ, and then finalized for 3.7. And again, the advanced forum, which is spanning against several versions. So these are the core projects that would have been too big for one institution to code. So they've been submitted by people who couldn't afford it on their own, but actually by finance to be developed by HQ. So the membership, I've just mentioned about how to get to be a member. Some of you already are members. So why would you become a member? You have a direct impact on Moodle development. You have a contribution to the sustainability of Moodle, direct impact to Moodle HQ, with Moodle HQ, constructive contacts within the MUA as well, so it's a community in itself, but also it's a fair and affordable membership. So what do you get? You can propose projects, you can vote on projects, you can attend monthly town hall meetings with some exclusive presentations from and direct discussions with Moodle HQ. So some of them are open to everyone, but some of them are just focused on just the members. You have candidate rights and voting rights for the committee selection, so you could be one of us. And visibility beyond the national borders, so it is truly an international community. Every time you are a member, you also get a badge like this one. So what does it cost? As described here, there are different types of membership. I've mentioned the individual membership, which is the one I have, and then the organizational ones. So you got bronze, silver, gold, with the different voting point system, depending on how many people are allowed per membership and how many points for voting. Does that make sense? Yep. So what are we doing and what are we hoping to do? So our goals at the moment are to enlarge the membership, which will obviously help us crowdfund more projects or bigger projects, intensify the cooperation with Moodle HQ, and we're working closely with different areas in Moodle HQ at the moment, enhancing communications with members. We've done that quite a lot recently, and we've done a lot of reorganization as well. Small project cycles, that has started. We are running our first one at the moment, and if you're not yet a member and you join, you can actually still vote on those. The MUA as a crowdfunding platform, basically. With more members, obviously, you've got more power to develop either more expensive plugins and not plugins. Functions or more of them if we go for smaller ones as well. So where is the MUA around the world? Currently, we have members all around the world in all continents, and the committee members are from Spain, Canada, the USA, UK, Germany, France, Japan, Switzerland, and Australia. So truly dispersed geographically. In numbers, I don't know if that's up to date, but roughly.
It'll be close.
We're close to about 10 gold members, 22 silver members, 25 bronze members, and about 220 individual members. In total, that's 200,000 votes, but also an annual budget of 200,000 Australian dollars that we can contribute to the Moodle projects. So next step, if you have any questions, ask us now. Also, you can use the email at info@moodleassociation.org. We can help you if anybody wants to apply for memberships, or also we can have a conversation now if you have any ideas. Yeah.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, over the past X number of years that the Moodle User Association has been going, what's the membership numbers been like? So do you have a graph that shows the peaks and troughs of the
I
membership
don't
numbers?
have that. Mike, do you have an idea? Or?
We don't, but that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I can tell you that it has been growing. So there would be very few dips. It would be more of a fairly gradual slope. Yep.
Yeah, it's getting stronger, but we don't have a graph or the data. It'd be nice actually to add that to our site and to show users.
So this morning, Martin showed that really Moodle is different from Moodle Core. Like when we talk about Moodle as products and services and stuff,
All the services,
you can see where this is going. So in one of the town halls I presented at last year, I asked, I can't remember who it was, who I was chair at the time, whether the MUA was just for Moodle Core or if it was for all of Moodle's products and services. And I wondered if you had an answer yet.
So far, it's really been, I mean, Mike can answer, but it's Moodle Core. This is what we've been contributing so far.
It would be, at this point, yeah, absolutely, it's only been for Moodle Core. So to extend it to other Moodle products, we'd have to go to membership first off to see if that interested them. I think a problem, for example, with Moodle for Workplace would be the members can't access it, so that wouldn't be right.
Yeah.
Moodle Net, that's an interesting thought. Again, I think we can easily present that out there and go, is this something that you really want to throw your weight behind? We talked this year about potentially starting to fund plugin development, but at the end of that, we kind of went, well, that's not really the goal. I mean, it would be great to be able to get more plugins, but ultimately the whole point of it is to get stuff into core, so getting more plugins isn't necessarily a solution.
Yeah, so the focus has been core, and the members overall, when discussed, have always tended to stick to core because there is a feeling as well that you've got, if you put all the resources behind that, you've got more power to, you're more empowering.
Yeah, but it is an interesting concept, and it's something. Essentially, we would just have to go out to. We have the ability to change our rules. We have the ability to change our focus. As long as basically as long as we're honest to the members. Yep.
Sort of a response to that. I think as a member for it, I think. Certainly in terms of supporting things like Moodle Net from a development perspective and putting that is maybe definitely to members, but I think in principle I would love to see the Moodle User Association be one of the first people actually federating Moodle Net as a provision we use to actually curate that. We are the Moodle User Association, so actually using those tools and being part of that federation right from the start to actually bootstrap that process is sort of eating my own dog food, and I think that probably doesn't need consultation with the members, and because we're not supporting it in terms of money and things like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I was to reinforce that is as a member, this is something that you feel you want to be part of, like that, being able to, test drive things and help giving feedback and being constructive towards that, but also promoting it to the other Moodle users.
No, part of your point there, as committee, we can make decisions like that on our own. We could say, hey, we're going to use Moodle Net for this. That's, the membership will speak with their votes next year. If they went, well, that was a stupid move, we don't want you back, then we won't get voted in. But it's only rule changes that we really have to go out to the members. So something that would change our focus, saying, hey, we're going to let you vote on Moodle Net customizations or core work. We really have to get that in the rules because we're bound. Right now we're incorporated in Australia, I believe.
Yeah, it's association rules from Australia, which are very strict.
And they have some very strict.
So any rules changed recently that we've tried to apply has been more lengthy than you'd expect. But we have to obey by those rules while the MUA is bound to the association rules from Australia.
But specifically to Moodle Net, I mean, Doug did actually invite all of the committee members into the beta testing, or alpha testing.
This is not a rule thing.
No. So we've seen it and we've used it and we can,
Where the rules, that can be easily changed. But using the rules at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got one comment, one question. My comment would actually be just a little bit to carry that on. Sorry, just one thing. I would be interested to see some of the Moodle User Association votes and funding going towards the developer certification. So actually going towards the MEC, but a slightly different version of that. So I think that's where it could sort of be used, because that one then, if you've got a developer certification, that's then itself going to feed into Moodle Core, because you've got more developers doing things correctly in
Yes,
inverted
yeah.
commas.
With
So
a
my
good
question then is, in the past, the Moodle Users Association have concentrated on single big items, and I've noticed you did the small cycle. So does that mean that there is a shift or an addition of lots of little things?
I think it will say it's more in addition. So we're not going to stop doing the big projects, and we are still doing those. But this cycle we've devoted to small projects, and also gives an opportunity to those people who kind of didn't get the votes because it wasn't big enough in other areas to actually re-propose things that were easily, done. And actually, we're still thinking through, to be completely honest, how it impacts the implementation in the different cycles. Because we were just, again, talking about it today. We had a committee meeting today, and we couldn't take part because we're here. But it's about trying to, so if we have small projects, and we can put them into the next version rather than waiting to the end of the normal cycle we would have with the implementation of larger projects, then can we get them quicker into the, like, let's say 3.8 rather than waiting for 3.9.
It's great to demonstrate that churn and have some movement.
Yeah, and if it's physically, if it's feasible, why can't we do it? There aren't any rules saying you have to wait 11 months to implement that. If you can finance it now and HQ is ready to, I've got staff and resources to code things, then it can be done.
I think the other aspect of it is building on that, because there's a kind of marketing aspect to that for the MUA, because the idea is to get more members,
Yeah.
so you can have more purchase power so that you can do more. And so if you can demonstrate that churn, that's great. And the other thing is, if you can be telling people who are trying to get things through Tracker, and and they're trying to get votes on Tracker, and they're kind of trying to get that through, and they're trying to get resource to put to that, if you can say, well, actually, this is a mechanism where you can do this, because you can get, because quite often when you put a proposal in, you're linking it to something in Tracker.
Yeah.
So for relatively little cost, you might get a huge amount of votes, and you might get some revenue chucked at that, which you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a powerful thing
Well,
to
I'd
kind
like
of
to
push
see
out.
all 20-odd projects that were there in the next cycle of the MUA proposals.
Do you think you're spending the money? Do you think you're spending the money?
I think we are. What do you mean?
Can you explain that? I'm not sure.
Are we using the membership to actually fund the next thing while we keep holding back money? Is that what you're asking? Or?
Kind of. It's like, ideally, I think you want to be not on the breadline, but close to it in every cycle. So it's like, all the money we've got, we're spending out. And I think it's really hard, because you kind of, you don't know what the income's going to be for the next year, so the temptation is to hold some back.
Yeah, well, the trend has been increasing anyway, so.
But we actually have addressed that in several times. So we look at our funding all the time. We are spending the money. We don't hold much back. So there's been a couple. We have concerned ourselves once in a while. Well, we take a risk when we go at this, because if half the membership decides not to renew, then we're in trouble. But that hasn't happened. So that's why we have these sessions. Part of the reason we decided to do the small projects one wasn't because we didn't have the funding. It was because there were a couple of big projects being proposed that were likely going to take more time than we could do in a cycle and more money. And all these little ones have been boiling over, and we kind of went, well, let's spend the time to do this. And the membership thought it was exciting because you get more things in there. We're not going to do that every time, but we've also been, and we've been discussing with HQ. I don't remember who we talked to at HQ. Who's our contact right now? That's terrible.
Sander.
Is it Sander?
I think it was Sander.
I think it is, yeah. We've been talking with him about how we can manage the project cycles better. So additionally, we might be able to take a project that's going to take more than one cycle and actually spread it over 2 cycles. We have had projects land, I think Aurelie just showed later, that have gone over multiple cycles, but that wasn't actually our choice.
No.
That was because HQ had already jumped on top of that one earlier and actually had a whole bunch of it done, and then we only had to fund the rest, which was kind of nice. So, there's those aspects. But yeah, I hear you, and that's one of the key things we're always looking at. Are we spending the budget? Let's make sure we don't overspend. And so far we've been fairly careful.
And this
or
is the
fairly good
reason
at
as well why this coming up, with this one coming up the cycle, we don't know how many projects, small projects will win, because it will depend on how, we'll try and spend as much as we can for the small projects with the budget we have, and they're all under a certain amount of money for sure, because it's small enough, but we might have 2, 3, 4, we don't know how many will go forward.
You said 3. That's not a cycle.
Yeah, well, it said 3, but it should be. It was 2 to 3. It was 2 to 3, if I remember, in the forum. That's what Richard posted. But it could be that there's a few more. You know, if they are small enough, or they might not be.
What we did was we set a maximum amount that the projects could be. So if HQ came back and said, no, that's over that, we just dismissed that one, it's going to be too big. We haven't got the final proposals yet. We assume that some of those will come in less than the maximum amount, and in which case we might actually be able to do more than we planned. So we have to wait and see what those proposals are.
So you essentially say you're going to spend this amount of money on
Right.
the cycle. That's not mentioned anywhere. It's just.
Okay.
I think there was the budget, which was posted by Jeff a few months ago, and there was about 200,000.
This is it. Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to spend this. And so I think we're at the point where we're finally not doing one project,
Right.
but 2 or 3. So obviously, with the small projects that helps, but
So,
I guess with the big ones, we should also be getting there.
so we need to. So I hear what you're saying is we've missed out on communicating that particular aspect of this one. Okay, so we can fix that.
Yeah.
Fund whatever we can.
Yeah.
And you'll prioritize it.
Yeah.
So 1 and 2 all fit under the bracket
Yeah.
we're going to spend within the cycle, then that will get funded. Then that would be clear.
Yeah.
That's actually what's happening.
Just a comment about communication. As we're talking about communication, could there be some kind of like orientation pack for new institutions joining? Because quite honestly, it feels like a little talking shop that is quite hard to break into. You don't really understand how it works. You go into that website and it's like, well, okay, now what? And then you go, so where do I go now? What do I do? Oh, do I have to join something? How do I join something? Everybody seems to
A
be
user
chatting.
tool, perhaps.
So everybody feels like they're in their little like worlds talking to each other. But what about all us people who struggle to get the
So like,
funding to join the damn
welcome,
thing?
where to start, where can I do this and that
Yeah,
kind of
just
thing.
like an orientation
To be honest,
thing.
we were talking again yesterday about the site, and we know there are massive improvements to be done on that part. And
New member.
yeah. No, and you know, if you join any kind of association and membership, you get oh, hello, welcome. This is where you can start getting involved and do that. So that's a really good idea, and I think I'll bring that to the committee.
We really need that site policy for stuff in this offensive manner.
Is there why do we have that site policy in
Every
such
time.
an enforced manner everywhere?
Every time,
Every
yeah.
time you try and follow a link, you get stuck by the policy because you're not logged in, and you log in, and then you can't get to that forum post. You have to click the link again. Like we've agreed the policy when we logged in initially. Why do we so aggressive about it? We just get rid of that.
So the site itself does need a little bit of love. We've got several tasks already assigned to try to get the site cleaned up. We have to work a bit with HQ on that because they're currently our service provider for that. So we're working with them to get these problems solved. That's one of them. There's a number of other things, like don't go look at the site on a mobile right now because it's awful. Sorry, Tim, you had one?
Some of that's configuration. You guys can figure that out. Site policy.
Some of it's a custom theme, a lot of it's a custom theme.
But we are talking about making changes.
Yeah.
Because, where the information is, or if you go on a mobile but without the app, on a normal mobile, so much scrolling. So we know that, and it's going to be a bit. But yeah.
For the orientation, highlight the calendar, subscribe to the calendar.
Yeah.
Because I know I did that as we talked about it in one of the town halls, but I did think that one of the people joined that calendar to
One other thing is, I have eventually got. So I think it was a positive development that proposals started going into the Moodle tracker, except that where a project wants to propose something that's been in the tracker for years, you guys insist on making a duplicate. And often you'll make what just looks like any other duplicate bug report, and I go in and triage it as a duplicate, and then I get told off, no, you can't close that, it's an MUA proposal. So if you're not going to follow the general rules of the tracker for MDL issues, should you have a separate issue type, or could you just follow the same rules as everyone else and not create duplicates when you're proposing something that was proposed years ago?
No. No. So I agree with you, Tim, as somebody who's been using the tracker for a long time. I understand that. We're actually doing what the HQ developers asked us to do. They didn't want us to they didn't want us to have a separate area. They didn't want us to have a separate project. We do have a label, and they didn't want us to take an existing issue that wasn't an MUA issue out of the tracker and make it something different. I don't know. We're still working on that. I think this is the first year that we've kind of been using the tracker for that purpose. I think we'll be able to sit back and review those now with them and go, okay, see, some of this isn't working, some of this is. And I think there's some opportunities there to even take in, like, perhaps what we really need to do is almost have a separate component or project in there for the MUA, and we can just move that item out of the one it's in and into a new one. But
well, that was see, there's not always a one-to-one relationship between the issue that might have been there and the MUA's project, which may have other subtasks and things. So the idea was you link it to the original.
I think it should be in the main MDL and it should be linked, but maybe it's just it shouldn't be in as any other feature request. Maybe you should have you've got bug, you've got improvement, you've got feature. Maybe you should have MUA proposal.
Yeah.
It's clear what this thing is.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely review that at the end of this year. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. At the end of this year, we're going to go, okay, what's the problems? What are the benefits of what we did? And let's fix the issues. And I hear your pain.
It was the right general principle. I think there were some issues with the implementation.
Yeah. I think we'll have to review, if we do something like that, the guidance, so that people will still search if there's any duplicate and link. That's really clear, because otherwise you will still get duplicates, and or they won't identify that's already there in the pack.
Yeah.
So we need to be clear in our instructions.
Any other? Over here. Working my way back.
So it's actually because Martin's here, and it's really that opportunity to ask you. It's as from Moodle HQ's perspective, and as a member, not the committee, is the Moodle User Association working in what you envisaged it did? It's been 4 years now. I was looking back through my membership badges to see it. It's now had its legs underneath the table for a while.
So I'm super impressed with how it's working. Generally, I think what's missing is probably the marketing, and we've been talking about that, how to market it better. I think Moodle Core should have MUA ads pop up when you install it and things like that. We have to make it more part of the fabric. It should be on Moodle.org. It should be in the tracker. It should be everywhere. And
in your presentation.
Yes, and I usually always do. I'm really sorry I left it. I had a lot to talk about, but it should have been.
It shouldn't be that. We shouldn't be having it at Gregor. It shouldn't be at our part.
Yeah, potentially. It could have been worked into the program better. Yeah, I agree. Yep, good point.
So actually, as part of the current committee, they split it. I don't know how many subcommittees have we got now? 6 or 7? Or anyways, the key point here is one of them is actually a marketing committee. So they're focused on that. They've been working with HQ to do some of the things Martin just said, because we've identified that whole thing. It's like we've been going for a while now, and it's kind of like, okay, people don't really know enough about what this is, and we need to get that out there. And part of that committee is to fix the site, make the site work a little better as well. One of the things I noticed is I intentionally let my membership go right to the end because I wanted to see what happened. And essentially all that happened was they said, well, sorry to see you go. And I kind of went, well, that's not really good. There's some calls to action here that probably could have happened before then. And I think, it makes me concerned how many individual members have we lost because they just went, oh, well, if I'm gone, I'm gone. So, there's a lot of things we've got to do that way. I did have a question asked to me this week somebody said, well, I'm just an individual member. I'm really not sure I want to renew. I really feel like my votes don't count because an institution comes in and they have their favorite issue and they vote all that in, and I really didn't do much. And I said, okay, I get it, I feel it, I know what you're talking about, but one of the things you can do is if you've got something you want in, you can make a proposal, right? As an individual has just as much power to propose an issue that every organization wants and get it in that way. So to me, that's the bigger one. Is like, yes, you've only got your 100 votes as an individual, but if you're voting, if you've convinced everybody to vote for the one key thing that you think is important, well, that's great. And then when we implemented the smaller ones this time, there's a lot more people who are getting those things in. And a lot of those proposals don't come from institutions. They come from individuals, and then the institution will go, I like that one.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I'm an individual member, and well, actually, my project was the first project to go through, and I kind of support that point. Even though my votes are less than the big institution, it is not about the votes, it's about the idea you have. And if your idea triggers the other people around you, and I think that's what MUA is about, do you have a good idea? Post it. Do you don't know how to do that? Talk with the people who actually already done it. We're going to talk about it, about your idea, and I'm going to help him in how he can do it. I'm not saying I'm a success story. It is just about, we talked about it 2 years ago in London as well. Being an individual member shouldn't be like, oh, my votes don't count. It is about what you can do. And that's ideas. And I think we all have pretty good ideas. I think we just saw it on the roadmap as well.
Yeah, and I mean, when I was on the original committee, and at that time, our vision, and I think it was similar to Martin's, is that this was the golden thread between the community and core. And it was individuals in that community. And what's key is that quite often you've got people who are working on their own and they've not got a lot around them to say, what I'm thinking right? Can you reaffirm me? Or I've got this idea, where do I go with it? And that was really a big part of what I saw the Moodle User Association being. And I think that is what it is. You know, I think there is a great community, and I take your point that it's hard to kick off, you know, to know where to start. But actually, once you're on there, you know, some of the discussion threads are great, and you put up a discussion about changing release cycles, and that got loads of responses from loads of different people. Some people liked it, some didn't, but it kicked off a really confident and interesting conversation. And you as an individual member can do that. Anyone could do that.
So speaking of that one, I think it's a shame that those discussions were happening in the MUA forums and not actually as part of the wider Google community.
Because those kind of discussions about when does Moodle release the releases come out, that wasn't really an MUA specific thing, and I know it's a smaller group and it feels like there's potential for more interaction there, but it should have. It kind of became a bit behind closed doors kind of thing. But I think what I don't know whether is improved is how we get to refining the projects so that they get done right the first time. Because once they're voted, then I don't think anyone really interacts with the proposals to get something which is going to work for everyone everywhere, rather than just a single use case which might not work at scale.
Again, I've been on the receiving end of this as the person who knows most about how the quiz works, where MUA have voted for some things that have clearly focused on someone getting their pet use case fixed and have not considered the wider picture. And at this point, Moodle HQ has committed to making a certain change at a certain price, and I have to work with the HQ people to work out how the hell we actually deliver something that meets what MUA is paid for, but isn't going to destroy like the quiz statistics report for other people.
As a quiz maintainer, you should have been involved right from the start, surely.
I would have thought so, but that didn't happen.
We don't.
That's a mistake.
Yes,
Clearly a
mistakes
mistake.
happen, we dealt with it. What actually ended up happening was some good changes in the quiz stats, so awesome, thanks.
And I think the committee is more aware now of, like, I think the Advanced Forum is one of them, where the communication with the proposers and people involved in
That has changed over the few projects. Because if you had then with your idea to quiz that happens with my project when it went to HQ.